Hello and welcome to the Martini. My name is Sandeep. Right now, I have with me the very talented and someone who really requires no description for that matter, no introduction, Mr. Neeraj Kavi. Hello, Mr. Kavi. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Nice indeed.
Same here. Neeraj, you've got to tell me, you have been a part of the theater. You are a theater actor yourself, and you have been a part of these wonderful roles. You've worked in plays by Ibsen, you've worked in plays by Molière, you've worked in plays by Stoppard and Maribou for that matter. Big names. I mean, I used to be a fan of Mr. Wilde, and I still am. You've got to tell me, what difference do you find as far as the mediums are concerned, as far as theater and cinema and now the web series?
Theater, first of all, is the foundation of an actor.
Hmm.
What you gain out of in the theater, you will never learn that nor experience that in cinema or in the OTT. Because cinema and OTT are primarily a director's medium. Theater is a space that is limited. It has a live audience. When I say limited means you can't go out of the theater into another location. It's a one space
Exactly.
area. It shows you full. It's a full shot. There are no close-ups, there are no mid shots, there are no extreme close-ups. Third, it works in a linear way. It starts and then it ends. Unlike films and OTT, where you shoot the death scene first, then you're alive again, then you shoot the first scene, then that's how it goes. It's non-linear. Theater is linear.
Hmm.
So what happens with this is that when you have a live audience in front of you in the theater, your preparations are far, far larger and far, far delicate and far, far more sensitive. There's a huge responsibility on you when you're doing a play because it's from start to finish, and for 2 hours there is no cut. There is only
Right.
exit and entry. That gives you a lot of responsibility and huge amount of preparations. The preparations you require for
And
theater.
also a practice would kind of it actually propels you to have a control over your craft, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. You see, then when you go on to film, that's a larger medium in terms of a 70 mm. You again shoot in a non-linear fashion, but there the advantage is that you have close-ups, mid shots, so you can plan your performances accordingly. You know where to put the energy. When the actor performs, there are there's an energy that runs through his body of the character and of what sensibility he's working on and what he's wanting to express. That can be controlled by the actor. If I know it's an extreme close-up, then I know how to pull up my energies into my eyes and work accordingly. I don't have to be using my entire body when I'm performing. So these kinds of things that is very crucial for the actor to adjust to. There's nothing called film acting. You simply
Yeah.
compromise on a medium and you try to put your entire craft within the circumference of that medium or within the gamut of that medium. In the OTT, you have a larger frame, which means that you have a larger space of time. You have 4.5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours to tell your story, which is unlike cinema. Because you have such a long time, that's the difference between cinema and OTT. You can create a larger character arc. You can put in more details, much, much more details of your character for the audiences to relish. This is the beauty about the OTT because it gives you that space and it gives you a longer time to tell your story. So, you're involved much more in the story than you would be in, let's say, cinema. Cinema gives you a shorter space, so you have to be planned, extremely planned as to what traits of you or of your character must you reveal and at what point of time in the film, because it's just 1.5 hours you have or 2 hours. So these are the differences between all these three platforms. But having said this, each one of them is unique. Each one of them is a treat for an actor to work with. And I think an actor must work in all the three mediums.
Absolutely. Neeraj, you've also got to take me through your technique as far as acting is concerned, and how do you approach a particular character? I mean, how do you look at it? I mean, and does that viewpoint, does that approach differ, change in any way when you are, apart, or you're perhaps facing the camera, facing the real audience? How, I mean, does it change? Does it differ?
Okay, so to answer the second question first, no, it does not differ. The entire technique that I apply or the methodology I apply as an actor, my craft to build the characters that I do create It does not differ. The technique does not differ. It's just the format that I have to fit into. That's all. My technique is an invention of my own self. I have worked on this grammar for a very, very long time. I'm still working on my grammar. It's not studied anywhere. I never went to an acting school. And I have stayed away from all the formats that have been tried and tested earlier, right? From method acting to the Chekhovian method to everything. I've stayed away purposely because I wanted to invent something. I wanted to give myself time to see if I can create something on my own. It has helped me a lot. When I create, I work on various levels very briefly. One is that I work on the physicality of the character, which means that there is a regime that I create for myself. It includes martial arts, yoga, and Chau or Kathakali. These are all dance forms, martial forms, and yoga asanas. I combine it like a permutation combination to fit a particular character. That becomes a physical regime which I follow every single day before I go to shoot. That regime creates my physical intelligence. And then I start slowly to do things that the character would do if the character were alive. There were actions. So, what are the kind of actions he's busy with? What does he eat? How does he live? How does he spend his time? As I keep doing this, I go further now into the psyche of the character, where I have to do a lot of research and reading. The reading helps me to understand the mind of the character. And that is very crucial for me. Because if I don't understand the psyche of the character and the physicality, I will not be able to create the sense and the emotion of that character. So when I work on all these three, I combine and put them all together. And it's um, like doing something in momentum. You know, your exercises and the physical regime and the mental preparations. You keep on doing them daily, and then it moves in a faster circle, and it slowly begins to come out as the character. And that's what you carry on set. But research is a very prime element of my work. I like to process a lot of information. So I read up a lot. I do a lot of book work. That's very crucial
Mm-hmm.
when I'm creating a character. All this helps me to stay focused on what am I thinking here, not mannerisms, not my speech or memory of the words, but what am I thinking here. When I do that, I get a voice automatically. Voice is the last thing that you get in a character. So when you work on the body, you work on the breath, you work on the mind, you start to get the voice. So the breath and the voice is what I carry to the set. Rest all happens in the automatic mode. But breath, I have to be very careful. Every scene in my script is marked with what the breath should be and what the voice should be.
And you do that yourself.
I do that completely on my own, yes. And I'm still inventing, I'm still finding more and more complexities and depths to this grammar that I'm trying to portray. That's what I teach as well in my acting workshops. The same thing.
So, what are you like planning to to write a book about? I mean, your techniques or the way you look at it.
I don't know. Not now, definitely. I will take some more time. I really want to be extremely sure of my methodology and my technique. I need to do much more roles. I've tried that in theater, I've tried it in films, now I'm trying it in OTT. It's all working very well for me, but I still feel I need a little more time to really say, yes, this is a methodology, and I can now write on this. It's tested and tried.
All right. Now coming to Avrod, Neeraj, you've got to tell me a little bit about your role in the show, in the series.
I play the role of a national security advisor by the name of Shailesh Malviya. The national security advisor is a very responsible position in the government, in all governments, actually, not only the Indian government. So it has a particular kind of a burden on my character. So this is one word which is always being played throughout the series, the word of responsibility and the element of burden. He's always burdened with the fact that how will my nation be secure? And the fact he is burdened also expresses his patriotism to his country. You can continuously see and listen to him when he speaks to the prime minister. He's so full of love for his nation that even in his aggressive techniques, even in his aggressive policies, there is love behind that. He knows why is he doing that for the nation. He's willing to stand by everything. So this comes, and that's what you play as an actor inside that character. Essentially and primarily, this is what the character is.
Okay. Um, when we, yeah, were you saying something?
No.
All right.
I was
So,
confident.
okay. All right. What I was trying to drive at right now is, I mean, after you had to finish, I mean, finish whatever you said, was that when you're working with a director like Gautam Ghosh, and then you're working with someone who's predominantly in the Bollywood repertoire, who's been making absolutely commercially viable films. What is the main difference, and how do you, kind of adhere to the mindsets and the thought processes for that matter, so that it becomes easy for you to work as far as doing your own thing and employing your own techniques to your script, to your role.
Working with stalwarts like Gautam Ghosh and Mr. Shyam Benegal. I mean, these are legendary figures and they're very, very senior people. When you work with them, you understand humility because you're working in front of mountains. So, whatever your technique, whatever your methodology is, there is a point of time where you also become a student and you keep aside what you already know to say, what can I imbibe from these great stalwarts? And that space I always give myself when I'm working with such kind of people. I don't put my technique and methodology completely in front and say, this is what I think I should do. I keep it
Mm,
50-50. 50% is what I use, what I have invented, and 50% I keep myself open to how they are interpreting something. And I take in
right.
whatever they are telling me. So I almost become like a student over there, trying to imbibe what are they teaching. And I enjoy that process because I add that to my methodology again when I get back. So, when you work with people like this, Gautam Ghosh and Shyam Benegal, you are continuously adding to your repertoire of work, grammar, methodology. When you come back and then you're working with out and out commercial directors, I personally do not block it and I don't see it like that. I'm aware that they may not have the kind of experience of a Gautam Ghosh or a Shyam Benegal, but I also respect whatever they have created. So when I'm going on set, I go armed with my methodology, but I'm also open to what are they looking at. And with every director I've done this. I've never just said, okay, roll, and I will show you what I'm doing. I've always sat with I've always sat with every director, and I've really asked them what is it that we are both trying to collaborate on, and we take the script and we go into detailed description. And there are so many things that they feed me with. I start to note it down like a journalist or a student, and I take them all into my van and I begin to process it. Because for me, whoever the director is, the vision is the directors and the writers. It's not my vision. So that respect I will always have throughout. Unless I know the directors the first time, then I will try to give as much input as I can because I know that I have more experience and I won't allow the director's methodologies to mess with what I am doing. That I have to draw a line and say, no, I don't think this is what acting is all about. So please do not guide me on this because this won't work. I've been lucky that most of them have never really come in my way. I'm just fortunate. They've allowed me to do what I do. And there have been cases, and I say this with a lot of joy, not with pride, but with a lot of joy that I have had a couple of directors who've also asked me to go there on set, and because they liked a particular shot, they've said, "Why don't you direct the next one on your own? You do it. You do whatever you want to do." And
Okay.
it's a joy when they tell you that and they allow you that complete space to say, "You do everything. We'll place the light, the camera, whatever you have to do according to the way you want it because we trust you on this more than what we will tell you." And that's a
Wow.
joy with working. So I find them a lot of the so-called commercial directors also very open-minded. That's also there in them.
If you do you really consider yourself to be a purist, or someone who can actually adhere to any or whatsoever situation arises and comes in front of him? I'm just open to accepting it. You know, how does that work?
I don't know if I will call myself a purist, but yes, certain elements of me do tend to go towards that way. Part of me
Yes.
is a purist. Part of me also works a lot on empathy. Part of me also works a lot on because I teach, so I am constantly working as a student as well. I
Mm,
have never taken anything for granted to say that I know this and my word is final. I've never done that. I can't do that. That's not my nature. I'll never land up doing that unless a director really comes in my way. Then, and it has happened just once, I think, where I really put my foot down and I said, "No, I only do this my way and no other way now, because
Okay.
there was no collaboration happening. And but otherwise, yes, I think I have shades of all of this. I won't call myself a complete purist, but there are elements of this in me. Yes, it is. I think it happened from
Right.
Ship of Theseus onwards. You
Okay.
can sense these traits. I myself sense these traits inside myself
Mm.
when I was working, and I believe in being extremely true to my character. That's something that I cannot compromise on. That integrity is very important for me. Come what may, I can't do, even if words are spoken on set like, why don't you just cheat this, or why don't you just lie over here, why don't you just
Yeah.
pretend as
Yeah.
I can't do
I'm
these
sure
things.
that must be happening quite often.
Yeah, earlier, it used to happen, Sandeep. Not now, of course. Not after Hitchkey. All that stopped, and a very different kind of reception happened when I used to go on
Hmm.
set with the producers, with the directors. It was a blessing. I think then people took things seriously, and they had immense trust. So, but before that, it used to happen a lot of things here and there, and then you didn't know what to do at that time.
Right. So tell me, Neeraj, how do you work the equations between your co-stars and yourself? For instance, if there's a lead actor and there is a certain way, mannerism, perhaps an air that he or she has beyond the camera, and do you let that affect you? Um, do you kind of what do you call that? Compete in terms of throwing off tantrums or showing off airs
No,
or something of that
no.
sort
So,
to
so,
make your
yeah, so
co-stars happy?
here's where you can call me a purist now, because when I go
Okay.
on set, it's only me, my craft, and my character. I try very hard to maintain this triangular relationship when I go there. I don't see anything beyond that. I don't
Okay.
see the tantrums of a co-star. I have been, and I have worked with leading actresses, but I've been very careful. Whatever uh, they are on set beyond the character, I have trained myself to be patient,
Hmm.
to um, to stick to what I'm there for. That focus helps me, and I don't judge them like that, because everybody is different. Everybody works in a different way, and they have their own space. And I don't think we are anybody over there to judge them and to say, oh my God, look at their tantrums and let me also start doing things. No, I don't. I've never done it. Although sometimes things irritate you, things bother you, it disturbs you during your work. But that's what I'm saying. You practice a lot of patience, you practice focus, you practice to keep yourself in one mind, and your craft and the character is what you're only working on. Every film I do, for me, is and should be one notch up or beyond what I've done earlier. If it is not, I consider myself as a failure at that time. If I've not been able to create something better and bigger than what I've done earlier, then for me that work is a stagnating work. It makes no meaning. Even if people write good things to me, even if the critics write very good things about me, I don't accept that, because I know in my heart that I have not grown with this film. I've done exactly what I did in my previous work. So for me, it's a stagnating project. And I cringe. I feel terrible inside. Although I keep receiving beautiful messages, but I don't consider that too much. I feel good, but it takes away the very sense of why I'm there. But yeah, this focus is difficult. As I'm saying it also, I'm telling you that this is very difficult on set. It's very difficult to keep your focus like that with so much happening over there.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the practice that one must get used to. Otherwise, the work suffers a lot. If everybody
It
is
does.
trying to throw up, then you will never be able to make films like that.
Sure. On that note, you've got to tell me about the working relationship or the camaraderie that you've had with Amit Saad. On the sets of Avrodh.
Amit and I, unfortunately, did not have much scenes. We only had one scene. That's it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, very unfortunately, I so wanted to perform with him as well, but there wasn't much written with the two of us in mind. I don't think there was a space for that. There was no space where he and I would come together. So only in that one scene that I was there with him and with Madhurima Tuli. So that's where we three were together. And I found it interesting, like the way I was working with Sushant. in
Hmm.
Vyomkesh Bakshi. I had a very similar
Yes.
feeling when suddenly I saw Amit coming. I mean, a youngster, a talented performer, somebody who has tremendous respect for his work, is well prepared, is hardworking, is there to work and not just to throw tantrums. So I found a lot of similar. I suddenly felt, oh my God, another young actor in front, and such a delight that they are focused. They really want to put their best forward and to work hard. That came up, and I take back that memory with me very strongly about Amit.
That's lovely. My final question to you is going to be about the lockdown. I mean, how have you been holding up this lockdown? How have things been treating you while at home, and what have you been doing? And of course, after Sushant's death, the kind of controversy, the kind of tittle tattle that started happening—not tittle tattle, like it's like a hullabaloo for that matter. It happened on the internet and still continues to happen. What exactly is your take on that? How do you see the nepotism, favoritism, or you being an outsider yourself, you don't really have any background in the industry? How do you kind of, I mean, see it? What perspective do you have?
So the lockdown for me has been the only thing that the difference between my normal life and the lockdown was that I was inside my home. Otherwise, the days were very, very busy because the moment it happened, Patal Lok released immediately at that time. We were terribly busy with the promos of it, the interviews, the recordings, because we were not able to go to studios for interviews. We had to record at home. So there were multiple recordings happening every single day for a very, very long time. Pre Patal Lok and post Patal Lok, once it got out again, there were a series of promotions and interviews. So that kept me busy. Then once that finished, and Avrodh began, and Avrodh's promos began, and their interviews and their recordings. In the meantime, I was also working a lot with a few theatre groups in the country, some in Bangalore, some in Kolkata, where I was again recording and preparing performance pieces for them. So there were documentaries being made on the theatre movement in Bengal. There were so things of this sort was happening. Uh, Also, I was reading a lot of scripts because this was a very good time for people to send a lot of scripts so that contracts could be signed and we can, streamline work in the coming months. So that took up a lot of time. So it's been completely and throughout it's been busy.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem to me that I was really resting or relaxing, except that I did not go out. So that was a big boon that I could be home, and that was a relaxing moment. Uh, but yes, having said all this, and all the regimes that an actor does, the preparations and the physical training, everything, all that goes on every day, anyways, morning, evening, everything. But two things that were very, very crucial that my mind went or my mind was occupied with. One is, of
Yes.
course, was much more work at home because we had to fend for everything on our own. There was no help, domestic help available. So it was much, 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 much more. But beyond that, what the mind was really focusing or was continuously occupied with were two things. One is what the pandemic was doing to humanity at large. That is,
Mm-hmm.
people falling sick and people dying. That and people going hungry. These three elements were continuously working in my mind, whatever I was doing throughout the day. And the main important thing beyond that was to understand why did this happen? This is a natural pause, a universal pause. And what do you do over here? What are we supposed to do? What am I supposed to do in this pause? Is it a holiday for me? Is it supposed to be just enjoying food, having beer, talking to friends, WhatsApping people, watching movies that I'm not catched up on? Is that what this was all about? Or was it about serious rethinking and meditating on what I should be now post the pandemic? How do I treat myself? How do I treat this planet? How do I treat others? When I know that it's so vulnerable, anybody can die any moment, anybody can fall sick. We made a mess of this planet. This is the way it's been reacting back to us. And we need to take care. How do I behave with this planet after this pandemic? What do I do every day? Do I throw rubbish outside? Do I throw plastic outside? How do I contribute? In what way can I work with hunger? How do I solve that? What is it that I can do that nature survives and we don't go through this? So all this has been occupying, it still occupies my mind, but a lot of things have become clear for me. Fortunately, because one had the time to reflect, to contemplate on few things.
Exactly.
But I think this is what has been the prime focus of my mind for a very, very long time. And I think it should be continuing for me. I don't think we can come out of it. We cannot be the same now after the pandemic. Otherwise, we are doomed. There is no way that we can survive anything anymore.
But do you
We
think
have
there
to
is room
change.
to
The
change?
whole of humanity has to change. Everything
But
has
do
to
you
change.
think? But do you think people are ready to change yet? I mean, are
I
they? I
won't know
mean,
that, Sandeep. This is very difficult to say, you know. I really wish that humanity was far more sensitive to understand why things happen. We still had cases of people partying, again getting
yes,
affected. People, when the booze shops opened, people again went throwing away the law and getting together and being in herds. Nobody really bothered. When you see all this, you feel really, really sad, really sad. In other countries as well, where they don't care a damn about the pandemic, it's still happening. We are supposed to be underdeveloped countries, but there are so many developed countries and developing countries that are breaking the laws and they are living as if nothing has happened. It's happening in India, it's happening everywhere in the world. That's what gets, it's very discouraging, disheartening when you see that. But I wish, I mean, it's only through prayers and working on oneself individually if we can start doing that and spreading these messages really, because today is easy to spread a message. We have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have everything. I think more people should talk, more people should reach out, many, many more people should reach out to everybody, humanity at large. Just government organizations speaking, prime minister speaking will not do. Individually, we'll have to talk. And individually, we can bring about change, but we just have to change. There is no other way out this.
okay. What about the second part of the question about Sushant Singh and all the hullabaloo that's happening?
You know,
I mean, surrounding his death.
one thing is that, again, we don't know what the reason is. The investigations are still on. Nothing has
Yes.
been put on paper and stamp saying this was the reason. So everything that is happening is a reaction to something that we still don't know about. So we have to wait patiently to know why it happened and how did it happen? Did it really happen the way we are thinking? Secondly, it's difficult to point out at somebody and say, you should have taken this actor in your film and not this actor. I think filmmaking is a very private business. A producer has all the liberty. He's not bound by government law to take certain actors only in certain films. It's his decision, his money, his team. He can take a call. And if he chooses to work with certain actors only, that's his call. You and I can't sit there trying to change that and fight against that. He's putting the money, he's putting the time, he has the liberty to take a call. Having said this, I also believe that the OTT platform has proved to the industry that so called outsiders are immensely talented. If you see the OTT platform today,
Yes.
most people coming in, actors, writers, directors, costume designers, art directors, all of them, in fact, 99% of them are outsiders. And look at the content, look at the talent. It's just purely amazing to watch all these people. So here we are actually working on our talents and skills and telling the industry we're all there. So we're not so called outsiders. You can't do without us. You will have to have everybody coming in. Otherwise, you're going to make a very secluded film industry. We'll only be seeing about 5 people coming and performing in all the films. What's the point of working like this? Then it's not called an industry. Then you might as well call it a film family or 3 families running the entire business. So that's
Yeah.
also not healthy for the industry. So I don't think I would be part of the group which is pointing fingers. I would rather say that work on yourself as you are and creating great talent. Make yourself so excellent that work will be divided very, very fairly across everybody. Why people take certain people or people from their family is totally their job, their understanding, and that prerogative is theirs. I don't think we can fight this. It is ruining the industry in a way because we're not creating great content if you're only going to be secluded like this. We can be there. That's what the OTT platform is so blessed that we are not facing this over there, fortunately, till now.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank
Kavi.
you.
It was a lovely conversation. It was a heart of
Thank
hearts conversation, and I barely, I kind of enjoyed the conversation and the
you.
frankness of it, that and the kind of questions and the kind of answers that were exchanged between the two of us. It was a lovely time that I've had. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Jay.
It was great talking to you, Mr. Kabir. My name is Sandeep with Hindustan Times Online, DC Martin. Thank you so much.